Okay, so we have our last presentation now, and this is we have three people from the School of Biosciences are going to talk now. Is Emma Hargreaves, Jill Shepherd, and Alex Moores on interactive digital learning with large class sizes in biosciences. So over to you. Thank you very much.
Hi, thanks Alex for sharing your screen. So Alex is going to take us through the slides. All three of us are going to present briefly on different ways that in the School of Biosciences we've engaged with large groups. So thanks Alex. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about a way that I have worked with my large group in terms of actually breaking it up. So what I've done with them is I wanted to give them an opportunity to have a peer-to-peer discussion. And we do this normally in a physical environment. This workshop's been run for many years, and we've switched to doing it online out of obviously a need to do so. But it was really important to keep it for me because the students really enjoy peer-to-peer discussion when it comes to talking about their work, and in particular my module, which is all about investigation of disease. So the students are looking at clinical case studies and working out a diagnosis for a patient using data provided. So it's really helpful for them to kind of mimic the clinical environment of bouncing ideas off of each other, and they really enjoy that kind of conversation. So it's really important for me to keep this going in the online environment. And also the students don't get that many opportunities right now to actually have conversations with their peers. You know, they don't pass each other on campus. They don't sit down to study together, especially now in lockdown. And I've had some really nice feedback about this. So I was going to pop through the slide one bit by one bit, but it's not that easy when there are two of us kind of running the show. So if we could just start by looking at the orange box where it says workshop aims. So the aim of this whole exercise is to prepare the students for a case study assessment, for an assessment that is really similar in structure to the case studies that they look at in the workshop. And what we need them to do, like I said, is develop their skills in scientific communication, to practice their problem solving, and to have some experience with peer-to-peer learning. Now, the case study assessment is an individual piece of work as it needs to be assessed in this case. But the group working allows them to see how other students work through these sorts of problems and to benefit from the skills of their peers. So how does it actually get delivered? Well, the whole cohort for this module is 180 students. So I had to break it up. So we're breaking them up into 4 workshops. So I run the workshops 4 times over weeks 5 and 6, so 2 days per week. The workshop is 2 hours long, which I apologize, that's not on the slide. And each workshop consists of 45 students plus me. And so within the workshop, the students are broken up into groups, so 8 groups of 4 to 6 students, and that gives them an opportunity to really talk to each other. Now, there's a bit of logistics involved, but with some help from the admin team in biosciences, that's easily dealt with. And I've just shown where you see the text on the left-hand side of the screen. That just is showing what it looks like on Moodle for that particular week, for the workshop week. So I give the students a heads up about it in the previous week's synchronous session. We do a synchronous learning session every week for an hour. I talk to them about it as well. But I give them a link to join the workshop right in that week, and then a little bit of information about what the workshop is actually going to look like so that they can prepare kind of mentally for what they're entering into. There's just a brief slide about what happens in the workshop, basically the things that I've just told you, so the students can get an idea of what to expect. And I've had some feedback that managing the expectations was really important, and it was helpful for them as they entered the workshop. And then I release on the morning of the workshop and not before the case study questions, because I felt it was appropriate for all the students to see it all at once, rather than people getting a head start and maybe working through questions already. And this has helped to focus the groups so that they're really organically working together from start to finish, and there's not one person just kind of providing all of the answers and doing all the talking. The students engaged with this really well. It was very easy to break them into their breakout groups. I told them what their number was, and they did it straight away. They didn't have any issues with getting into groups, maybe 1 or 2 technical problems for all 180 students. And then they got into their groups, and then I just went and visited the groups one by one, which was also really easy with the Teams interface, and answered their questions, talked to them about the work, made sure there weren't any technical issues. We didn't have any problems that way. The students could all share their screens. Most of them actually put their videos on to talk to their peers. Some people who couldn't use their mics just used the chat. And we had a really productive session. At the end of the session, so I visited the groups 2 times. Each group, that in the 2 hours from start to finish, that's the amount of time I had to get round each group twice, and that was enough for them. And then at the end there was a feedback session which lasted about a half an hour, where I went through a slide set that they hadn't seen before to tell them the answers and to break down the questions, connect it with our learning from the previous several weeks, which is what the case was based on. And the students really seem to enjoy it, and it actually, like many things lately, it's worked a lot better than I expected. There's a bit of student feedback just at the bottom, and once in a while we get these beautiful comments from students, and I don't know about you, but I certainly find that it really does make it all worthwhile. It was actually, she said exactly what I was hoping. She got the opportunity to bounce ideas off the other students, which she's finding difficult to do during the pandemic, and really enjoyed the format of the workshops. So I would recommend this to anybody with a big group. It's not too onerous to do it 4 times if you have the time, and I'd be happy to take any questions at the end.
Okay, so I'm taking over here from Jill to talk more about our large synchronous sessions. So the format that we're working to in biosciences is that we are breaking down what would have been, I suppose, our traditional lecture content into short asynchronous videos. We're sticking, as for SPS, with around 8 minutes where possible. You can also give some additional background. I've found that the students tend to get very overwhelmed if there's too much of that. So all of mine goes into a Moodle book that they can choose to look at if they wish to. And I also have an anonymous discussion forum to allow questions to be asked where students might not want to name themselves in the beginning. So I try to make the sessions really changeable throughout to keep the attention spans going. And this has really evolved over time. And I'm just finding now that it's really starting to fit really well. So we normally open up with the discussion, answering those questions that might have been in the discussion forum. We'll then have, say, 15 minutes of the session will be a problem solving, or it will be a case study, or a how do we know, so covering some experimental, I suppose, more of a traditional learning content delivery. And then we move into more interactive techniques. So there's a couple I've been using, and both have worked really, really well. You can see perhaps one has been more fun for the students than the other. So we have the Ombia quizzes. And I found these, I was really worried about running these virtually, how it was all going to work, but they work so well in the online format. And the students have really liked having the instant feedback. They like that they can discuss why answers are wrong as well. And I find they join in the chat, and they'll be, before I can even comment, discussing why an answer might have been wrong or why an answer is correct. And that gives us me the time in a synchronous session to really identify where any problem areas might be and to address those. And then the other thing I've been having a lot of fun with lately is the whiteboard. So I was really worried how this would work. You know, we have 263 students on here. I tend to have between 150 to 200 students will join me synchronously. And I was worried that this might just turn into chaos. But I share my whiteboard, and actually it's worked so well. So this is just one example, but now I have some where I have diagrams for students to label, etc. And I asked the students to do this, and actually it's just worked really well. One student will do it. Doesn't seem to be that everybody tries to jump over each other. I can see it's a different student each time because you can see who's doing this. I have stuck to doing these at the end of my sessions, and you can see the reason why I've done that on this slide, because you do tend to get a few doodles. So to stop people losing engagement, oh, sorry, Alex, to stop people losing engagement, I'm doing them at the end. I'll pass to Alex.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to just quickly run through what I've done for a focus on forum-led discussions. This was part of a stage 3 module with a class size of 195. They had a prerequisite of looking at asynchronous material beforehand, and this was looking at HIV mechanisms and pathogenicity. And then I opened up a forum that was outlining 2 different news articles on the genetic engineering of babies and also stem cells to cure HIV in the future. They're both quite controversial, and I wanted them to discuss this in the forum, but also to lead this into an online MS Teams discussion as well. And it was really useful because they the aim was for them to gain knowledge, the knowledge they've gained from the asynchronous material is then used, and then also to enhance self-study by looking at these articles and going off to critically analyse them, this specific topic, and also giving them the ability to debate and discuss both online, on a forum, and in class. So the outcomes when I did give the actual discussion in MS Teams was we discussed, well, the students discussed the 14 points raised that was already previously on the forum. They had a student-led discussion that lasted about 30 minutes. There was greater than 30 comments on the chat that was different than other people's comments. The students really engaged with each other. You can see at the bottom there's an example of one of the questions, and there's likes, how many people agreed with that comment. And then at the end of this, I got positive feedback for enjoyment of the format, but also that it really enabled them to retain the knowledge that they've learned and use it after the asynchronous material. That's me done.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all 3 of you. It's not easy to try and fit 3 into 10 minutes, so I think you did very well there. Thank you very much. Dan or Nick, do we have any questions?
I can see a question from David Martin talking about the pre-recorded videos. The short time period is probably valuable for live sessions, but when students have control over pause and rewind, is there the same need to force a topic into such time chunks?
I mean, I can answer that. We've just had some feedback on this and our students love it. I think it just forces the break, because if you leave one big PowerPoint video there, then it doesn't always facilitate having a break. Whereas if you record this in short chunks, I mean, it doesn't have to be 8 minutes. It goes up to 15 sometimes. But the students really like that it gives them a break in between.
Yeah, and there's something about bite-sized chunks, isn't it, Emma, as well? Sometimes they're seem more willing to get started, might have said, if they know it's only going to be a short thing. Sometimes, it's like going out for a run, get those trainers on to get yourself out the door. And that's what they've told me as well.
We've probably got time for one more question.
There was an earlier question which I think has probably been responded to in the chat, but it's maybe worth raising it here as well, from Anne Chard asking regarding the breakout rooms, was it just the one member of staff that was supporting the 8 breakout rooms, or did you have additional support?
Yeah, it was just me, but there's no reason why additional support couldn't be helpful. I actually found that the students just having me meant that I wasn't overseeing them too much. And it's similar to what I would do in the classroom. In the classroom, I'd only probably go around the groups twice anyway. And they benefited, I think, from that independence as well. So balance.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, fantastic. That summarises, I think that finishes our presentations for today. So I would just like to finish today by saying a huge thank you to all of the speakers, not only for agreeing to be present at this event today, but also for allowing us to open up this webinar to people outside of the university. That's not something that we do that often, and I know that can make people a lot more nervous. So I appreciate what you've done for everyone. So thank you very much. And thank you to the e-learning team as well. All my colleagues have been frantically kind of manning the chat. So thank you to everyone who's been helping today. It's kind of our hope that this webinar series can kind of build and become a platform for people from both inside of the university, but also outside of the University of Kent as well, where we can share good practice, but also just bounce ideas off each other in the team that we've created. So that's kind of my vision. I really hope it comes off. So we will see. I would just like to remind everyone that's here at the moment that we do have another 2 webinars planned coming up soon. The first one's going to be on Friday, the 11th of December. Is going to focus on the theme of using electronic feedback and assessment to engage learners. So please come and have a look at the presentations again. We do have some really good speakers lined up already. However, if anyone else would like to present anything, we are still accepting some speakers. I think we've got a couple of spots left. So please get in contact either directly on Teams or I think I have put a call for speakers link in the team chat. So please have a look there as well. So yeah, after that, we have another webinar, which is going to focus on technology for accessibility. And we have some really good speakers for that one as well. And I think that one is going to be on the 5th of February, if memory serves me correct. So keep an eye out for that in the team and also on the Moodle module. So for everyone outside of the University of Kent, that is going to be us for today, I'm afraid. Thank you so much for joining in. Now, for all staff from the University of Kent, we do now have some additional training sessions for you guys, if you like, or training sessions, more like question and answer rooms. So with that in mind, if you wanted to attend any of the question and answer rooms based upon kind of what you've been looking at today, I'd encourage you just to have a quick click on the link to the Moodle module that we've created that's linked to this module page. And on that module page, you will find links to 3 sessions. One is a question and answer session for Microsoft Teams. We have my colleague Nick as going to be manning that room with James from IS Training. We also have another room which is going to be creating interactive videos, which is going to be run by the e-learning manager, Dan Clark. You see him on your screen there, and he's been kind of fielding the questions. And we also are going to have a Moodle Q&A session, which I will be in with my colleague Steve Ganfield. So please click on the link and jump into those sessions after this event. So yeah, so that's it, I guess, for me to say thank you so much for coming, and we hope to see you at the next one.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Guys.
Bye.